In this video, we're going to run through how to set up the Hypop 100cm by 200cm photo table. It comes in two parts. This is the perspex board here, so that's the surface. And this is the frame of the photo table inside this carry bag. So here's the frame inside this carry bag here. So we'll just go through the carry bag really quickly. It should include some parts in this small pocket at the front. There's two black handles here and two Allen keys. So these are two different size Allen keys used for different purposes when building the frame. And there's just a small guide here on how to put the pieces together. So that's the black frame there of the photo table. It just shows how many pieces of what and where it goes in the actual frame. So that's a good guide. We'll open this part up here. So there's a Velcro pouch right at the top here. That's the large pouch, and then there's three parts here in the middle, and there's two columns here of poles. They're bits and pieces of the frame. So we'll open up the middle part here. Okay, so the three pouches down the middle here. The top pouch here consisted of just the bar, the top bar here, which looks like it's part number 7. So that's just it's one of the edges of the corners of the frame, and there's 8 pegs here. So these pegs, they actually clamp on the perspex board, and you've got 3 clamps with little spigot mounts on the top here. So these clamps with spigot mounts, they're for positioning along the bottom of the frame, which you can attach lights and other bits and pieces to your actual photo table once it's all set up. Okay, so down these two sides here, we've got the other bits and pieces of the frame. So that's all the pieces that have been removed from the actual bag. First thing to do is to unwrap all of these posts of the frame and just identifying what piece is what. Okay, so we've now removed the plastics from all the bits and pieces of the frame here. And what we've done is we've put them into the groups based on the instruction guide here. So on the instruction guide, you have different numbers for each of the parts. So there's part 1 through to part 8. And it tells you how many pieces of each part there are. So here we've got them from 1 to 8. So for part 1, it's a longer part here with 2 openings. They're all matching pieces, so you just need to look for parts that look the same and group them all together. For part 2, these are the legs. So there's a T-bar at the top here, and at the bottom there's nothing. That serves as the leg of the actual table. So there's 4 parts of part 2. Now part 3. Part 3, there's only 1 part, and that serves as the frame for the back of the actual table. So that's the top of the frame for the back. Part 4, it's a part here that doesn't have anything on one end, and on the other end here it kind of looks like a spade or a shovel part here, which is actually the join for the back of the table. So that part there will attach to the handle later on, and it allows you to swivel the table up and down. There's 2 parts to that for part 4. Now part 5 is the part that connects to the swivel back of the table. So this here will be the actual top part of your table. So that will serve as the top part. That there on this end, on one end it's actually just plain. On the other end here there's 2 screws that you'll use the Allen key to loosen and then attach onto the back of the actual frame of the table there. And there's part 6. Part 6 is a really short part, so that there is on both ends it's got a little T-bar bracket, and that there will connect to the front end of your actual table. You'll need to loosen with the Allen keys that are provided and rotate one of the ends here to face horizontal instead of vertical, and the other end to remain vertical. So we'll show that in the video shortly. And part 7, this is the front part of the frame. Based on the photo, it's right at the bottom front of the actual frame, so it allows that S-curve of the actual perspex of the table. And part 8. So part 8 is actually the bottom part of the actual frame. There's a square frame at the bottom of the table that provides more stability for the table. And part 8 is the shorter part based on part 1. Part 1 and part 8 look the same. The only difference is, as you can tell, the length there. So that's how you can tell. So firstly, group them all together from parts 1 to 8 based on the actual diagram. so it's a little bit easier for you to put things together. So now that we know what part is what we need to do is start constructing the table. So constructing the table involves the Allen keys that are provided. So these are the 2 Allen keys, 2 different sizes. And what you need to do to construct the table is start from the bottom to the top. So start with your legs first and the square frame around the base of the actual table, and then work your way up. That's the easiest way to go about doing it. So we now have the base of the actual table constructed. So what you'll find when you're setting up the frame and the bottom part of the frame here is that the longer parts here are the front and back. So that's the direction the actual table will be facing. So the shorter ends will be the sides and the longer parts will be the front and the back. So the easiest way to go about doing this firstly is to get the leg, loosen with the larger Allen key, loosen the actual corners here, and then feed through to each of the legs, the frame of the legs here, the base. So they need to stack on top of each other. What you'll find is they fit perfectly, that one end will be that'll fit onto the next end. It's sort of all the way around in the 4 pieces there. So that's how you go about doing that. Next part would be to actually start constructing the top part of the frame here, the top part as well, the sides of the base, and then the back. That's what we'll go ahead and do now. Okay, so we've now put together part 5 and part 6. So part 5 here are the top part of the table, it's the sides. And that part there, you can distinguish, the back part of it would be 2 Allen screws right there at the back, which you'll require the smaller Allen key for. And that's the left and the right side there. And then part 6 are the shorter sides here. So part 6, what you'll find firstly is that they're both facing vertical. And what you'll need to do is for one of them, you'll need to loosen with the Allen key and then rotate horizontally there, because that will allow you to mount part 7, which is just the crossbar at the front there, later on during the construction process. Now you can see we've completed the back part of the frame, and we've attached the handles here on the side, so you can loosen these larger handles to control the height adjustment of the backing. So now we can adjust, screw to tighten. So the actual frame part is completed, but what you need to take note of is firstly to just balance out all the different parts that you've loosened and put together. So as you can see, right now the actual table doesn't seem balanced, like some parts may be higher than the others. So what we'll do now is just go around, loosen them up, readjust to make sure everything is correct and even.
Look at the camera and start again.
So now what we need to do is go ahead and put the perspex backing onto the table. So it comes rolled up just like this. There's 2 sides to the perspex board. So one side here is like a matte side, and that's the underside of the actual tabletop. And on the inside here, there's some protective film that covers the actual surface of the tabletop. So that's the top side, and that's what you just need to be aware of when you're placing this on the table. It's best to do this with 2 people because it is a large table. So as you can see here, we've now mounted the tabletop to the frame here itself. So it's a little tricky. There's 8 pegs that are provided. It's best to do it with 2 people. Firstly, the actual tabletop is rolled in one direction. So as you can see here, it becomes an S-curve shape. And because it is an S-curve shape, this bottom part here is going against how it was originally manufactured. Over time, that will actually loosen as you have it set up on the tabletop here. As you can see, there's no bowing at the bottom of the tabletop here. It's quite solid. We're able to put something on top, which we'll demonstrate shortly. But as you can see here, this bottom part curves downwards, and this top part curves in the same direction it was manufactured in. So just place all your pegs in even positions around the table. There should be 2 at the top here, 2 on either side here at the top back part of the frame, 2 at the base here of the actual table, and then 2 to secure down at the bottom to make that S-curve. There's 3 other parts that come with the table. These are clamps with spigots on the top. So these spigots here, they're 5/8 spigots, they're standard light fittings. They also have a 1/4" thread at the top here, which you can mount other sorts of lights. Cameras, it's pretty much a universal mount, screw mount for cameras and lighting gear. So what these are used for, these are optional, so these aren't required, but what they're typically used for is to mount to the bottom part of the frame here of the actual table. So one part here is sort of like an arrowhead shape. Just loosen the knob. That arrowhead shape now hugs onto the round side of the frame into place there, and then you actually just screw to tighten. You can mount these on one on either side, and perhaps one on the front or one on the back part of the actual table there. So they typically provide additional lighting. So if you do purchase additional lighting with your photo table, you can light the underside of the table. And what this will do is try and negate some of the shadows that your product or your subject's actually creating here on the surface. This tabletop is actually translucent, so some of that light will pass through, but it will be a diffused light. So that'll be a lot better in terms of trying to get rid of shadows in your product photos. Okay, so we've placed a couple of things on top of the table surface here just to show its weight capacity that it can handle. So a couple of these flashes in the boxes, they're roughly about 2.5 to 3 kilos each. So it's looking at about 5 to 6 kilos sitting on top here. We wouldn't suggest putting anything else heavier than that onto the table, so anything that's say above 5 kilos. If you're wanting to do that, then it's best advised to use perhaps just the floor or a table surface with some sort of white background if that's what you're wanting to use as a background. If you're wanting, as you can see, underneath the table is actually not supported or not stabilized. There's no horizontal crossbars to support that, so that's why we wouldn't definitely suggest to overload the tabletop there. So somewhere up to about 5 kilos.